persons, where they're looking at certain practices within the framework of trafficking that have specific application to women. And so you find that these small pieces of legislation address specific areas of women's rights, but also within other legal frameworks, other laws, you realize that there are specific aspects that promote the rights of women, that promote equality, that promote non-discrimination, that promote elements of equity. Equity is really, you're not striving to make people equal, but that you're creating a platform that raises them to a certain level where they can fairly participate with other groups. Yes.
Well, you've sort of given it as a very big explanation of the different laws that touch on the protect women's rights. But then we need to understand the obligations that fall, because when we talk about protecting women's rights, whose duty is it? Who can I hold accountable to ensure that these rights are actually protected? Many people talk about government, but what could be that mandate of the government in the context of protecting women's rights? Yeah. And even us as individuals, as men, as women, what do we need to do? Or what does the law tell us to do? Maybe we could start from the government.
Yes, ultimately, of course, protecting the rights of citizens is a mandate of the state.
Yes.
So by citizens, we include women. And the law specifically puts this burden on the state because the state is the overall governing body of all the citizens of Uganda.
Yeah.
So it has to protect and promote these rights. It's not enough to have them in the book. The state has to take all steps necessary to ensure that the women to whom these rights accrue enjoy them fully and enjoy them in an environment that is enabling. So that is why the state has to make commitments to build the institutions that will promote these rights, to ensure that they allocate resources to these institutions, that where rights have been violated, people can go for protection, people can go and reclaim their rights. So that the overall mandate lies with the state. But of course, the responsibility to also ensure that women enjoy their rights rests with each one of us, including I as a woman and every member of the society, to ensure that the women, that first of all we recognize that these are vulnerable people, and also to ensure that we create equal opportunities for these groups of persons. So whether it's the girl child, whether it's the women in the workspace or in the informal sector, or whether it's disabled women, or whether it is the girl children that are prone to abuse in institutions of learning, we must ensure at all times that we are creating opportunities for them to participate, for them to express themselves and make decisions at all levels. And in Uganda, of course, we have institutions that have particularly been set up to promote these rights.
Okay.
We have a whole Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development.
Yes.
Within there, of course, there are so many other, smaller, vulnerable groups whose rights are being protected and whose interests are vested within that ministry. We also have the Equal Opportunities Commission that really oversees issues of equality and ensuring that, all of us are enjoying equal rights at different levels, whether at government institution or even non-governmental institutions as well. We also, of course, know that civil society organizations partner with the state to ensure that they enhance available structures that promote these rights. So I spoke earlier about, the fact that ActionAid is running shelters. They are running it in collaboration with the Ministry of Gender. So that means those shelters are places where the citizens whose rights have been violated can run and can get justice as well. Of course, the courts, the parliament, these are all, government institutions that have the mandate to ensure that these rights are fully enjoyed and also are promoted as well.
Okay. You mentioned earlier on about affirmative action.
Yes.
And sort of tickled my mind because there have been people arguing that perhaps where we've reached now, it has outlived its usefulness. I don't know what you would think along those lines as the person who's worked in this space for a period of time.
I've had those conversations before. Would I say that we have achieved when it comes to gender equality? No, we're far from there.
Oh.
Yes, we're far from there. The more we evolve, the more we are waking up to the reality of the inequalities that exist all around us. And these inequalities, by the way, do not just apply because you're educated or you're not educated. You live with these inequalities all your life. I can tell you as a lawyer, as a person who has worked in civil society promoting women's rights, I find myself in spaces of inequality. I find myself in spaces where, you know, you can be discriminated against for one reason or the other. So we live through these inequalities all our lives. The issue is that once we strip ourselves off of affirmative action, then we will be, you know, going 10 steps backwards from where we are from. Because as we speak, even now, there are so many inequalities that exist.
Okay.
The opportunities that a girl in a rural area has cannot compare to a girl in an urban setting. There are so many layers of inequality that still exist, that are even increasing now, given the circumstances that we experience. So in my opinion, we still need the affirmative action in our law. Yeah.
That's a good point to go for a break. Viewers, you're watching You and the Law, the COVID edition, and today we're discussing the impacts of COVID-19 on women's rights. With us in studio is Mercy Grace Munduru from FIDA Uganda, a member of FIDA Uganda, and currently working with Action Aid Uganda. Let's go for a break. We'll be right back.
When it comes to the law, we basically live the law, you know, on a day-to-day basis, you know. Whether it is in your bedroom, there is a law that governs it. If you're married, for example, even if you're single, there could be something touching on the law, because you might be in your bedroom with an underage girl, or you might be with another person's wife, you know. All the things are the law, you know.
If you're a human being, you have rights. Those rights are called human rights. They are examples: the right to health, the right to freedom from torture, that underscores human dignity, freedom from slavery. You're not supposed to be someone's slave.
If you look at our penal code, it sets out another marriage laws. It sets out the persons who can marry and those who cannot marry, right? For example, you can't marry your close relatives. You know, if you did, you'd be committing a crime.
The state is not supposed to tell you who to worship, how many times in a day. No, you have a right to work. Your right to work, you have freedom of association.
Cohabitation for whatever period of time does not make you husband and wife, right? And that is why we emphasize to people that when the relationship is still hot, you know, you must ensure that you do what? Marry.
Yes.
You know?
For human rights to be respected, protected, and fulfilled, relevant government programs must actually work. Medicine should reach hospitals, oxygen should be there, health workers should have gloves, teachers should be present. Now they are mostly absent, and they have left the profession, a good number of them. They are into trading. So things must work. If things don't work, human rights are not respected, are not protected, and are not fulfilled.
COVID-19 has tested our hope and faith as individuals, families, and the country at large. Besides destroying many aspects of our lives, the novel coronavirus has also affected our human rights in many ways. You and the Law, the COVID edition, is a 30-minute weekly television program that focuses on the impact of COVID-19 on human rights in Uganda. The program engages experts to explain the importance of rights-based approaches to the success of any public health response to ensure the respect, protection, and fulfillment of human rights amidst the challenges presented by COVID-19. You and the Law, the television program, brought to you by Legal Hub Uganda, taking the law to the last mile in proud association with I4C Africa Hub and House of Talent Television, coming soon.
Welcome back. This is You and the Law, the COVID edition here on House of Talent Television. My name is Jonathan Ochom, your host, and today we have Ms. Mercy Munduru from Action Aid Uganda to discuss with us the effects of COVID-19 on women's rights. Mercy, welcome back from the break.
Thank you.
So before we went for the break, you gave us a good understanding of women's rights, the law around it, as well as a run through the different obligations that exist in order to ensure women's rights. So then 2019, late 2019, 2020 up to now, the monster called COVID-19 came in and, you know, interrupted our lives and changed so many things about us. And then along the way, clearly, our rights, got compromised. And today we're here to discuss, from a women's rights angle, how COVID-19 actually impacted women's rights. We borrow from what government did, the interventions that were in place, and overall to make a conclusion on how this has been the case. So I would like to pick your mind on that. How has COVID-19 impacted on women's rights?
Ultimately, COVID-19 did affect all of us. I must start with that. The fact that, the ravaging impact was on our society. We were met with a pandemic that we were never prepared for. So I can understand that we all grappled, to fit into the new normal. I'll always remember the first lockdown, the fact that both the state and the citizens were struggling with what to do and what not to do. And I think for me, that was the first moment that I felt the impact of COVID-19 on women, because I remember in the first couple of weeks, all the helplines were co-opted for reporting COVID-19 cases.
Yes.
So immediately, the hotlines that we usually used for reporting cases of violence were switched off, and they were used for reporting instead infections. That was the first issue. So that means women and children had nowhere to report cases from. So for me, that was the first in terms of when we're responding. But also I remember in the first set of guidelines, we did not have specific consideration, gender considerations, looking at women's unique maternal functions. So women that were expecting struggled in the first, a few weeks of the lockdown to access health facilities because of the strict nature of the restrictions, but also the fact that the security forces were struggling in terms of enforcement. How much do we enforce? The requirements for getting permission to access a health facility were quite heavy. You had to go to an RDC's office and all of that. And there are certain functions of women that cannot wait, that are not time bound. So that was that had a very negative impact on the reproductive rights of women. But broadly, because the way we live changed, there was a very disappropriate impact on women and girls in homesteads. One, we were locked down, so the families had more people than they usually do. And we know before COVID already, we have society that has set out gender roles in our homes. There are certain elements of a woman's life that determine if they are good women or not. These roles are assigned by society, and as you grow, you find yourself fitting within a certain role.
Set up,
And the way these roles are structured, you find women and girls perform similar roles. So what my mother does, I also end up doing this. So this increased the care burden on women. Some of these roles, apart from the domestic chores, is also caring for the sick. We know that this squarely really rests on women. The bigger percentage of women handle care for the elderly, for the sick, and so this really rests on them, and the girls as well. So because of these pressures, you realize that there was a distortion in roles within homestead, and it fueled a lot of violence. The number of domestic violence cases spiked, and I can say this from a point of authority because we respond to cases of GBV. So I can tell you the number of gender-based violence cases went up. Beyond that, there were very many cases of sexual violence, especially incest in homes. Very many young girls that we rescued had survived incest. They were survivors of incest within families, by caretakers, by boys in the homes, by their parents. So this in itself made homes a risky venture for young children who were out of school and are also in the home. But also we saw that the reality of the majority of women working in the informal sectors was visible. So Ugandans for the first time realized who really runs the informal economy. So when they were talking about markets and who runs them, who does work in the markets, majority of those were women who now had to be locked up in the markets, at the same time also provide for their families. And in this process, most of them were exposed to sexual violence because they were sharing spaces and sanitary facilities with men in most of the markets. But also just the risk of disease, sleeping in that open space and being able to, you know, fend for a living was a challenge. I remember one case where a lady was working in the market, and then she would send a rider to deliver food for her children. And then the rider defiled the daughter, the eldest daughter, who was 8-year-old, an 8-year-old. So the risks associated with that was also immense. And of course, the fact that there was a limitation in the number of people that could stay in the markets meant that there was a significant proportion of women that could not now, you know, earn from what they were doing in the markets and selling of food commodities and all of that. But also the manner in which enforcement was done left a lot of injury on women. I think you saw on the media so many cases where the security forces used unnecessary force on women who were coming to the streets to sell food and do all of this. So the already existing inequalities were further deepened because of the new normal. Not that these things started because of COVID, but they were deepened in that process. But also, most importantly, the digital divide, especially in young people. We know that, of course, schools were disrupted. They're still disrupted up to now. And there were now alternatives to learning that emerged due to COVID-19. So many children moved from physical learning to, you know, online learning. And you realize that many children, especially in the rural areas, already could not access learning. This is for both boys and girls. But beyond this, girls were affected differently. Why? Because they're taken up doing household work. They're taken up doing care work with their mothers. So at the end of the day, you realize that girls cannot make time for studies. Girls cannot even access the digital space to learn. But also beyond this, as a coping mechanism, we know many families that co-opted their girls for marriage just because it was a means for survival in that moment. So, I mean, children have lost a significant amount of time at home, and many parents believe that, you know, this situation may not change, so why don't I just give my daughter away to marriage? That was part of, you know, that disappropriate impact. So you can see that the impact was both economic, social, but also political, because we had elections while we were battling with the pandemic as well. And how many women could give up what they were doing to participate in the election cycle? How many women could leave the household work and go and vote, for example? So that in itself was an issue. But also with the clampdown on some of the NGOs, and especially women's rights NGOs, it was very difficult for women to participate effectively during this period. And most of this was done in the pretext of, you know, trying to enforce restrictions around COVID-19 and social distancing and all of that. So most women couldn't participate.
Mercy, you've given us like a 360-degree analysis of how COVID has affected women's rights, literally from all angles. But I'm curious to know, government put in place a couple of measures, you know, to protect the spread of this virus. And I'm wondering, are there those that you think, what's your view of those from the angle of protecting women's rights, the different COVID measures that were put in place? How did those affect or enhance women's rights during the pandemic?
I think as a country, largely we struggle with gender mainstreaming already. It's already a struggle. And so it's no wonder when they were putting together the COVID task force, there was not much consideration given to the gender dimensions. I remember some of the pronouncements by key government officials that were saying that domestic violence is not a big issue.
Sad.
And yet within the first month, there was a spike in the number of cases police was reporting of death from domestic violence. So for me, first of all, not having a gender mainstreaming perspective at the point of, you know, bringing together the task force, both at national level, but also at regional level, that was already a problem. But also the amount of resources that were committed to responding to, you know, the gender-based violence related issues, or just an engendered response. When you're measuring vulnerabilities, when you're measuring the impact of this on different groups of people, how much investment are you making to ensure that the vulnerable groups, especially women, are covered? But also, when it comes to even the measures that around awareness on COVID, not many of the messages, save for the ones by civil society, were targeted to address some of these inequalities that are deepened by COVID-19. And for me, I felt like that was a very big problem. Even the briefs to our security forces, for them to be able to appreciate that, you know, how they enforce, because within the enforcement guidelines, I know that, for example, a male officer cannot you know, handle or arrest a woman. But we saw this happening on the media. And that in itself goes to show that we did not prepare enough to respond to the challenges that would be presented by COVID-19, but also in the workforce. You know, having to issue guidelines that preserve or protect the rights of women in the formal and informal space, because we know many organizations and groups laid off people due to the impact of COVID-19, but we also know again that this affected women a lot more, because in the leisure and tourism industry, we know most of the informal workers that work there are women and girls, and so we saw how that really affected them in that process. So I still believe that we could have done better, but even beyond that, having come out of the first lockdown, in preparing relief packages, especially economic relief to entrepreneurs, we should have mainstream gender in those interventions, because you know that the group of women affected from the informal sector is huge. So as you prepare economic relief, especially to, you know, the informal sector and the business sector broadly, you should specifically and deliberately target women in those spaces, because you know that majority of those affected are them.
Someone could think if you're not putting a tough burden on the government, but it's not my assessment to make.
Well, they made a commitment. They made a commitment to mainstream gender.
Yes, you're watching You and the Law, the COVID edition here on House of Talent Television. Today we're discussing the effects of COVID-19 on women's rights, and with me in studio is Miss Mercy Grace Munduru from Action Aid Uganda. Let's go for a quick break. We'll be right back. Mercy, welcome back to our last segment
Thank you.
of the show.
Thank you.
So we ended at a point when we were discussing the sort of what government did, and you painted a fairly sad picture, or perhaps a very sad picture actually, of the situation. And I would want to know, don't you think there are a couple of things that could have worked well, that you think maybe government did well in that intervention in as far as protecting women's rights is concerned, and the positive, you know, that we can report?
Well, because you have asked, I will now. That was a joke. I think there were also, there were some wins, I must say, in certain areas. I remember after advocacy, government did take up civil society and their placement within the different task forces, from the national to the regional, which I think was very important in terms of also mainstreaming interventions and merging them with some of the work that development partners are doing. I know that very many civil society organizations had to reprogram around COVID-19 as well. But before, you know, that level of advocacy, it was difficult to channel those interventions to the communities. So I think giving that relief and also ensuring that we had passes to run, you know, especially response actions was very important, and I appreciate that from the state. state. I also know that some major resources were committed to communities, and some of the vulnerable groups that were targeted were women within families, both in the urban and rural areas. And for that, I would like to commend the state, and also the fact that the police was able to continuously give an update on the issue of gender-based violence. A lot of the information we're able to receive up to that point came from the police, who were in direct contact with different sections of society when civil society could not function. So I believe them being able to highlight that as part of what they were observing also is what led to heightened advocacy around issues of women's rights and COVID. So yeah.
Okay. It's always important to give credit, like you said. Mercy, COVID is here now. We have no idea when it will go. Worst case scenario could get another pandemic or any other disaster like this, say in 5-10 years. We hope it doesn't happen, but worst case scenario, it could happen. And I'm sort of anxious to know, what lessons do we learn from COVID, from the COVID response now, and how would we protect women's rights if we got ourselves in a similar situation? What are those pointers you give to government of Uganda? Say, okay, to protect women's rights under extraordinary times like this, these are my 1, 2, 3, 4 bullet points that you think we should think about in future if we have to continue dealing.
I must say we're in that future. Right now we're still battling COVID-19.
Yes,
the fact that we're anticipating a third wave, but we're also still seeing cases of COVID, especially the second wave in our country. So I still think we're partially still in that COVID mode. But ultimately, from the first lockdown to now, there are so many lessons for us to learn.
Yes.
The first is for us to appreciate the fact that these inequalities do exist.
Yeah.
And that unique situations like COVID-19 pandemic just deepen these inequalities. And COVID-19 for me also was a way to measure how much we've done as people interested in promoting women's rights. How far have we gone in curing this issue? Because the way it manifested in these uncertain times was quite different from what we ordinarily already know. Many of us are always out of our homes, so we do not pay attention to so many things. But the fact that people were living in the same space and we started to see different manifestations presented the reality of inequality, the reality of the unpaid care work that we always speak about in different spaces. So I think, one, we need to have a proper policy around pandemics and especially pandemic response, because what this does is it then streamlines the different actions by the state, by the non-state actors, by the private sector, for us to be able to prepare and respond when we are caught in a situation where we must perhaps implement certain restrictions. Because if we do not have guidelines, we will implement the restrictions, but we may end up contributing to the problem.
Yes.
There's a bigger problem beyond COVID-19 and responding to it. You may respond to COVID-19 and end up seeing an upsurge in the number of deaths from domestic violence. So it's very important for us to have that national level policy guideline, because this is not the first pandemic. We may be battling COVID-19, but there could be another pandemic more serious than COVID-19, God forbid, but it could happen. But if it does, then what happens? What have we learned in terms of policy? That policy would guide our actions, and it would guide what the state can do and what steps they should take, right from assembling a task force to the kind of interventions, to the kind of resources that are allocated. But also beyond this, one of the key learnings is the issue of gender-responsive public service. How accessible are services?
That's a good concept.
Exactly. How accessible are services? Health, education, and all of this, how accessible are they? What are the inequalities that exist?
In those sectors.
Because there are certain communities where people could not access health facilities. Remember, you cannot use bikes, you cannot drive cars, and you're stuck. The nearest health center to you is kilometers away. So what happens? These are the realities. And in the condition in which a woman could be, how would they then access such a service?
Even if they're allowed bikes, how many women can ride bikes?
Exactly. Exactly. So the issue of gender responsive public service is very important. We must ensure that in the services, the public services that the state provides, that we're gender responsive. That is very, very important. And it's a key development indicator, by the way, because the majority of our population is women. And you cannot speak about development when the majority of your population is not empowered or protected. For me, that is wrong. And then we must address the issue of digital divide.
Yes.
What is the alternative to physical learning? Which is a big question. We've not answered it. Because as I speak now, we are not yet seeing children back to school. And this could continue because we're going to open in phases as a country, at least from the last...
Studying.
Well, exactly. Those are the divides I'm talking about. So those inequalities exist. What impact that this have on us as a country? What are the alternatives? What are the alternative strategies that will encourage female participation? Even if you have online is there, but how many people access TVs? And even where TV is being accessed, how many girls in homesteads have time to sit and learn if it's not deliberate? You realize most of them cannot. Why? Because they are burdened by care work.
Laundry.
We must invest in awareness creation around issues of gender. I know it's a topic that people run away. When you tell people you're a feminist or a promoter of women's rights, they look at you like a problem. But these are realities. That is why we are where we are. That is why people are poor. This is the issue. Because if as a woman I spend my productive hours doing unpaid care work, then I am a driver of poverty in your home.
True.
Yeah. So those are conversations we must start having. Because if we become conscious about these facts, that means within the homestead we're able to enable our girls have time to study. We're able to reduce the burden of women by sharing roles at home and ensuring that the burden is not entirely resting on one. But also we need to enhance our GBV response, because as I speak we have only about 13 shelters. And how many districts do we have? Over 130.
Yeah, and still counting.
And still counting. And still counting, over 100. But you have 13 GBV shelters. So
by the
what
government of
happens?
Uganda, or those are
Well, right now they're being run by the development agencies, though in partnership with the state. But the funding for it really is from development partners.
13.
Yes, they're 13. So that is a big problem, right? That's a very big problem, because that means in very many places where these issues are happening, women do not have where to go. The police, the way it is structured now, does not have space to shelter women who have been abused or children who have been abused in their homes. I spoke about incest. When a child has been abused in their home, you're supposed to find alternative space. But now if a police station does not have that, in Arua, a story happened where a child was rescued during COVID, had run away from home, and so they brought this child to a particular police post, and they didn't have where to keep the child. So there was a vehicle outside where they tried to cushion, the child as they look for alternative space. The child escaped and was discovered dead. So that is just one of the examples that sometimes children run away from abuse, but they don't have where to go. So we must invest in response mechanisms so that women have where to go, because ultimately for me women are a development issue that we cannot speak about reducing poverty, we cannot speak about progress as a country when the majority of your population remains disempowered or remains at that level at which they are uneducated, poor, and they cannot fend for their families. For me that is a big question. So it must be at the heart of the work of government, but also development partners as well.
I mean, I'm looking at you and, visualizing a future Minister of Gender, Labor and Social Development.
I can be a serious one. And by the way, that ministry, if you look at how much resource is being allocated to the different ministries, it's among the least. What does that show you about our priorities?
Mercy, so many issues to talk, perhaps not so much time to dissect all of them. But I think for viewers, the key takeaways from Mercy today is that protecting women's rights is our core responsibility. It belongs to government, but also to us as individuals. But more importantly, for the government of Uganda, you have the mandate of investing in putting in place the necessary infrastructure to protect women's rights. Is it putting in place GBV shelters? Is it about putting in place good laws and everything? all those things that Mercy has explained today highlight the need for government to be cautious, to be gender responsive, and to think about vulnerable sections of our community when are designing interventions in tough times like this we find ourselves in because of COVID-19. With that, viewers, we've come to the end of today's episode of You and the Law, the COVID edition. I've been your host, Jonathan Ochom. Next week, we'll discuss yet another human right which has been affected by the virus. For now, it's a bye.
Now I'm going to talk to my people.
Yes.
Because I like what, as we are saying, vive la France, vive la francophonie. So, le leadership, c'est quoi? Le leadership, ce n'est pas le fait d'intimider les gens ou bien de dominer les gens, non. Le leadership, c'est le fait d'aider les gens à suivre le bon chemin. Parce qu'il y a des gens qui sont là, ils ne savent même pas par quel chemin emprunter. Il y a des gens qui ont même étudié, mais ils ne savent pas quel business ils doivent faire. Maintenant, l'idée, quand tu rencontres une personne pareille, tu vas l'orienter. Non, tu peux faire mieux que ce que tu fais. Non, la peur que tu as là ne va pas te tuer. Tu peux aller au-delà de la peur. L'idée, c'est comme j'avais donné l'exemple, j'avais donné l'exemple ici en français, en anglais, pardon. La vidéo que j'avais vue à propos de chiens, il y avait un groupe de chiens au niveau du Canada et il n'y avait pas de l'eau. Pourquoi? Parce qu'il y avait, la neige, il n'y avait pas la place pour que tout le monde puisse boire de l'eau. Mais il y avait seulement une petite place pour le boss que je vais appeler. Et il ne voulait pas que les autres puissent venir boire de l'eau, comme il était boss. Il intimidait les gens. Mais il y avait un petit garçon, un petit chien qui était là à côté. Il a eu l'idée de briser la glace, là où il y avait pas, parce que l'eau était en dessous et il n'y avait pas moyen de boire, mais le petit chien a brisé et tout le monde a vu ce qu'il faisait. Ils sont venus, ils ont commencé à briser et tous ont profité avec l'eau potable. Et le boss était laissé comme un vaurien. Personne ne le faisait encore confiance parce qu'il n'était pas là pour les aider. Il était là pour le faire peur, les intimider. Mais l'idée, c'est quelqu'un qui est là pour aider quelqu'un à avancer jusqu'à son destin, à sa vision. Parce que nous avons tous nos visions, mais c'est la peur des fois qui nous arrête. Merci mon ami.
Let me take this opportunity. Yeah. I know everybody is watching me. My fellow Ugandans, my fellow youth, my fellow brothers and sisters, please, everything is possible. You can never regret before you die. I know people, they have degrees, masters and what, but they are looking for something to do. They are waiting for their applying for job opportunities. But you can create your own project. You can create it. You understand? Yeah. You can do something, because for me, I came from the foot of the mountain. You understand? Everything is possible. So, however much you have a degree, you have what? You will be keeping on looking for job. No jobs. But you can start with something small. Think what you can do. Everything you can do. You can start with something small. You have seen the way how for me I started. I think you saw the park, the small park, which I started with. Now check. Right now Uganda is proud of that park. But I thought that park was mine. at the beginning. I thought, man, I've made this pack. But the day when I realized it, that is the time when the community came together and said, from the community, that pack is no longer for the community. At the beginning, it was mine. It jumped off from me. It went to the community. It jumped away from the community. It went for Nakawa. It jumped from Nakawa. So now it's for the whole Uganda.
Yes.
You understand?
Yeah.
But remember where I started from.
Yeah.
That's why I say, my fellow Ugandan, my fellow brothers and sisters, sit, think what you can do. It can expand at any time.
To be an engineer. When I joined my Form 5, my dad asked for a PCB math. Back then we used to do a long combination. And I changed the combination because I didn't want to do biology. I didn't want to do the biology. I wasn't interested in medicine.
Yeah.
But he talked to me. He didn't punish me. Later on, I changed back to the course. And then there I was, went to campus, went for a medical course, and I'm out here.
Okay.
Yes.
And doctor, before we get into our second part, which is the management of change and development within self, which is what I'm basically taking you through, either in a business or a similar organization and at the nation level.
Right.
You trained as a medical doctor, and we see you now transiting to another area which is very interesting that we have not seen many people in Uganda. That's managing change.
Okay.
What would you describe change management in your understanding as is to many of our viewers?
How would I describe change management?
Yes.
Well, I would initially say, I talk something about change. Change is something inevitable and irreversible. Once change comes, you have to move. It either changes you or you change with a change.
Yes.
Hygiene, because impression is key.
Yeah.
Remember, you're serving coffee. Coffee is so simple. If you, I don't know if you have some coffee cups here. I will show this. You can find a very small cup, and you have to do a pour over there.
Yeah.
So if you're dirty, you have to, you have to be so hygienic.
Yeah.
Where you work from, the way you present yourself,
Yeah.
are you attractive? You yourself, you're the first marketeer
True.
of your coffee.
Yeah.
Because people may come to the station and they maybe they have never taken coffee. Does that mean you will never sell your coffee? No. But if you present yourself well,
Yeah.
you tell some people you look nice, you dress well, you smell well, they can even give you audience.
Yeah.
You talk to them about the coffee and the advantages.
Yeah.
Convince them, but you not convince somebody when you're stinking, you're
True.
looking shabby,
Yeah.
you know. Nobody can allow you to brew their coffee
Yeah.
when you're ramshackled.
True.
Hygiene matters.
Yeah.
Your personal hygiene, the sanitation at your station, it really matters.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah, and I think-
And there is no excuse for that.
It's a CEO bench, so usually people want to assume that all CEOs are overlearned and stuff like that. So I will change the script this time round. I consider myself a certified hustler.
If I'm looking to know who you are you Ugandan? If yes, what are the values that define you as Ugandan?
That's the easiest question I think to answer. I am a typical Lao man from a Rute North in a place called Ogur, and where I will be laid to rest is in a village called Agweng. So if you go there and you just say Otoa Tony, they won't really know me because my father is also Otoa Tony. You have to ask for Junior, and when you're asking, you have to ask with an accent. Junior Tikwene, where is Junior? And they will identify me. But I'm typically Ugandan, only Ugandan, from Lira. I pride myself from being from Lira. Earlier on, I was joking and saying I'm the coolest Lango south of Karuma. When you cross Karuma, there are so many. But when you're down the south after Karuma, I think I'm number one.
Wow. Well, now that you know Tony Otoa is Ugandan, and of course, what are the values that define you as a Ugandan?
I think it's the love for country, love for nation. You know, truth be told, the country is in a lot of, it's a crisis. Leadership crisis, economic crisis, social crisis. There's so many mismatching areas. But at the end of the day, it's home. You know, you cannot run and abandon your home because of the issues in your home. I think that then creates an opportunity for you to do something to change what's happening and what you see as a crisis. So in terms of what I see as a value, or what I take out of that for me, I think is just the love for country, the need to serve country the best way I can. And I mean, I can't say I can change everything, but the little I can do to create a difference, I think is more meaningful.
Wow. Mr. Tony Otoa, growing up, what did you want to be in life? And what was the journey like for Mr. Otoa?
Yeah, you know, my father is crazy. My father would call us and he would show me the compass. The idea was supposed to be a pilot. You know, the planes would fly over our house and my father would be like, yeah, you're going to be a pilot. But of course, as you grow, you realize that you have so many things that really define you. I was never a sportsman. So I enjoyed a lot of debate and, you know, a lot of indoor activities. And that is, I think, what really drove me into some of the things that I do up to today. Public speaking, the love for debates and really a lot of intellectual discourse and all this stuff. But besides that, I think it's also the fact that I won't lie. I didn't know what I wanted to be.
Would you say that also like the pay in Uganda in terms of salary is affecting the ladies' involvement in the coffee industry? You know, men as like, if you're not getting enough of a job, at least people in Uganda call it kuiriba, you know, they will do that. But ladies, when they ladies will be in a specific job full time, and what they get is what they get. Do you think that's also affecting like ladies getting involved in the coffee industry?
About payments in Uganda, I'm not so sure, but it could be. It could be. So maybe they should do something about it.
Who should do something about it?
UCDA.
UCDA.
They should put standards on baristas. Yeah. What I know that here in Uganda, baristas are being cheated. Honestly, are being cheated. So. Madam, she's called Madam.
Say her name.
Madam. I've even forgotten. But
she's which Madam are you trying to? In UCDA.
The lady in UCDA.
You're talking about Claire?
Claire, Madam Claire should do something. They should sit down. They should put standards on baristas. One day, I have a friend. He's working in Mbale. He told me they pay him only 300.
300.
But he's a barista.
For man.
Yeah, it's not enough even to pay for the rent. So maybe they should do something.
This message is coming, please. This message is coming direct from Saddam to Madame Claire on UCDA. To UCDA.
Yeah, to the board.
To the board.
To the board. UCDA, please do something. Do something. Yeah, our baristas are being cheated. That's why most of the baristas are running outside.
Yeah.
They here in Dubai they are paying at least good salary. I should go to Dubai.
Okay.
But if they pay us well, I think we should bring all this energy to our industry and we make it on the map.
You have to know each equipment. You have to know the brew ratio. Actually, the brew ratio is I think
very important.
the most important. brew ratio now most people may not understand. It is the ratio of
Water.
the coffee powder to water,
water,
and the yield. Water in this article will bring us into the yield. If I put 10 grams of coffee into my portafilter, how much of it am I
water
exactly?
do I need to add?
So if you don't master the brew ratio,
Yeah.
oh, everything is going to turn out a mess.
Yeah.
You understand? Even if you know that knowledge and you don't master the brew ratio.
Yeah.
So I used to love the way our barista used to present his cups.
Yeah.
For example, one day he presented some nice coffee. It was a cappuccino, very nice, presented. And I asked him, how do you make this? He said, you go to a school and study.
Yeah.
So I used to love the passion he had. So I said one day I should learn this. So I kept on serving his orders. But I found out that most of the orders were according to the way he was feeling. You know, baristas present their cups according to the way they are feeling, according to the mood. In case he left home when he's sad, he's not happy, you will see the results in the cup. But when you see something beautiful, just know he's so happy.
Yeah.
So the passion he had and the love he used to put in the cup really encouraged me to join the school. Not until I got to learn about Isaac at the Brew Plus.
Yeah.
Then I came with some of my friends, so we are now doing the course.
Welcome back from that short commercial break. You're still watching the Coffee Break Show on House of Talent TV with me, Amun Mukisa, right here in our bigger studios. You know, these studios are fancy. They make you calm, make you want to take coffee, and especially with the fact that we have the coffee session. That's, the best part of the show for me is when we are brewing coffee, because I get to learn how to make this coffee. I don't know about you who's watching us from home, but me, this is the part that I always look out for. Sam today is going to help us brew or make for us a French press. Yes, I know we've had many baristas, many coffee makers come here and make a French press, but there's someone who tweeted us and he was like, you know what, guys? Yes, I've watched all these episodes that you've done about the French press, but I really want you to do it one more time for me in one weekend. And here we are. We have the big guy right here ready to make for us the French press. Sam,
yes, please.
Are we ready to make the French press for our dear viewers?
Very much ready, sir.
Very much ready.
Yeah.
Here's the floor for you. Tell us what's it all about that people fancy French presses, what type of coffee it makes, what method, all that kind of information.
Okay, a French press is a manual brewing equipment, and every manual brewing equipment comes out with the result is black coffee. Depending on the way you make it, it may be strong or mild, depending on the client's order or what you want as a passion. So here, actually, we are going to make it in a way that favors people at home, because at home mostly people don't have scales and they do want to take coffee. But when you're making this in a restaurant, you're supposed to have a scale around you, and you're supposed to do some measurements. Yeah. So here we we get our lid, put it aside, you ensure that you put it in a clean place. Then we preheat our press.
It's a good thing that you talked about the way that we're going to make this French press. It's more of like a home-based way, whereby you don't need a scale, don't need a kettle, because now we have a flask just with hot water, and we're going to make our coffee.
What I'm doing helps to kill germs and also to keep to preheat our press. Then when you're done preheating, in case you have a scale, maybe I will talk about the scale side when I'm done with this. Then you can get your coffee powder, grinded coffee powder. You can maybe, for me I'm going to use 2 spoons.
Okay.
Yeah, 2 spoons of coffee
Why
powder.
would you opt to use 2 spoons, not 1 spoon, not 4 spoons, not 5 spoons?
Because I want it a bit stronger, not so strong, not so mild, but a bit stronger. Okay, because the more coffee you put, the more stronger it will get. You get. When you put less, the more mild it will get.
For the benefit of our viewers who are watching, how big is that spoon in terms of measurements?
This spoon is, these are like 7 grams.
7 grams?
Yeah, 7 grams.
So if you're doing 2 spoons, we're doing around 14 grams?
14 grams of coffee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Does the grind size matter in a French press?
Yeah, it matters a lot because the grind size has to be slightly coarser compared to other manual brewing equipment.
Okay.
Yeah. So it is supposed to be slightly coarser. So after you're done with the powder, you get your water. Then you start mixing in. This is at home.
At home.
Don't try this at the restaurant.
If you try this at the restaurant, you're fired.
You're fired, you're gone.
But what happens if I just pour water randomly into a French press?
Actually, it's not advisable because as we are mixing, we are looking at the flavors and aroma out of the coffee.
Okay.
That's what we base on. Coffee, it's not all about taking, you know. You have to, you know, to get the flavors, the aroma, at times the acidity, the smoothness of the coffee. You have to feel these things as you're taking the coffee. You get. So.
I see you've covered the thing. What's the point of covering the coffee after pouring water?
Actually, when you're immediately after putting in the powder, you pour some little water to dampen the beds of ground. Then after some very few minutes, you continue with the pouring. In case you have some measurement around, you keep on continuing. After you're done dampening, you open your lid. Then the minutes, because I first poured, then I waited for some minutes. These minutes help us helps this coffee to go under dampening process and to bloom it. You get? We do this in order to achieve the flavors, the aroma, and the smoothness. Then we can continue with the pouring.
You know, here we're having a conversation and we're giving out this information to our viewer. If you're in the office, if you're at home, and you're following the steps that Sam is showing you, is it that the time you've taken, like, because you've taken some time talking to me, is it allowed for the person who's at home, who's in the office making this French press, to also take that time, or there's a specific time that you take while making this French press?
The person at home?
Yeah.
It is allowed if he's actually a coffee taker, because it's not all about taking coffee, as I said. You need to get these flavors. You know, there are people who take coffee just because they were being told to take coffee. You get, and after taking, they say, "Man, I will never take that shit again." They call it shit at times. Sorry to use that word.
I know.
The thing is too
like
bitter.
Coffee drinkers don't like bitter coffee. You know, like bad tasting coffee.
Yeah,
they don't like it.
So after tasting, you know, it helps us, as I said, to gain the body, the flavors and the acidity, the smoothness of the coffee when you're tasting it.
So the more time the coffee sits in a French press, the more sweet it becomes or the more bitter it becomes?
The more time it sits in a French press, like for example, you see I've not pressed it down immediately, I'm allowing these particles to settle at the bottom, you know, and I'm preventing a client, because this, if I'm to serve it to a client or someone at home, to take coffee while having some particles inside, then the more sweet, of course, it becomes. You'll feel the sweetness in coffee, and you feel this aroma and the flavors. Yeah.
Okay. For the person who requested us to do a French press on the show, I hope now you've seen what you need to do step by step for you to get a French press at home. If you're doing it in a coffee shop, just theoretically, take us through the process you have to do to get a good cup of coffee using a French press.
If you're doing it in a restaurant or a cafe, you're supposed to have the following equipments before you come up with this. You have to ensure that you have a timer. You have to ensure that you have the French press, the guznik or the kettle, the freshly ground coffee with the recommended grind size.
Which is?
Coarse.
Coarse.
Yeah, coarse. Fine to coarse.
How do we measure coarse? Because me, I assume if it's not fine, it's coarse. So which type of coarse? Is it like salt coarse? Is it like sea salty coarse? Is it like sugar coarse? So which grind size of coarseness that we need?
It's like actually, it is sea salt.
So if you know sea salt, the coarseness or the size of a sea salt, that's the grind size you need to have for a French press. So if you go to a coffee shop, look out for that grind size if you're buying a bag of coffee. And so we've gotten our coffee, we've gotten our scale, timer, the French press, the gooseneck kettle, and that's all?
The gooseneck kettle. Yeah, for a French press, that's...
For a French press, that's all. Plus my cup.
Yeah, plus your cup.
So we're done with our French press, right?
Yeah.
I'll tell you about the French press. So guys, tell us what you think about this French press that Sam has made for us. You know, always, whenever I'm on the show, I always be the first to tell you how the coffee is tasting. But today, I want you guys to tell me how you've seen or what you've known or understood during the making of this French press right here that we have. But anyway, I'm here and I'm the one going to taste the coffee. So that's the benefit of being on this show. And that's why I said this is my best part of the show. So Sam, can I take on the coffee and taste it?
Yes, please.
Okay, that is mine. Guys, you don't know what you're missing here. One more sip. Wow. It's a very, very nice cup of coffee that is smooth, balanced acidity, the body is not that harsh on my tongue. So I would say I would take this coffee in the morning, I would take it in the afternoon, but I wouldn't take it in the night. Yeah, so it would start my day because it's not that strong, it's not that bitter. So it would start my day, it would run my day, but wouldn't run my night.
I get you, sir.
Sam, thank you for giving us this tutorial right here.
You're welcome.
And for those who are watching us on House of Talent TV, I have some guys that are watching us via Twitter. I see Bright, what's this name? Bright Sereka is watching live on Twitter, and I see Saddam Chivi, who wasted here, is also watching us via Twitter. And also, you could also follow us on our Twitter handle, that's at HTV1 Uganda, so that you get to watch this conversation that we're having with Sam. Sam showed us how to make a French press if you're at home. He showed you how to make that French press, but he also told us theoretically, if you're a good barista, what things you need to have when you in a coffee shop or restaurant, what you need to have to make a good French press for a client who has asked for it. Sam,
yes, please.
As we are concluding with the session of making a French press, but also concluding the show, what is one thing, that one thing as we're ending this month of January, the first month of 2022, what's that one message you have for the viewer who's watching?
Guys out there, I don't know, me, I'm a born again Christian. I will urge people to pray, to come back to God and, you know, pray, because what we've been through wasn't easy. So get back to God and pray. Yeah.
Is that all? That get back to God and pray. God is everything, you know. If you don't have God in your life, you don't need, I think you don't deserve to live if you don't have God, because God is the maker. God has given us this coffee. God has given us this whole space of teaching people how to make coffee. And has let Sam come here to tell us more about coffee and his experience in the coffee industry, right, Sam?
Yeah.
Otherwise, how do people follow you, like on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook? Because they would need to know more about what you've been talking about here.
Yeah, actually, my phone got a problem, but I'm still working on it.
So Twitter is like Sam, something like that?
Yeah, Samuel, Apaga Samuel. Then, yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Then Facebook, still Apaga Samuel. WhatsApp, my number is 07562 43 905.
905. Yeah. That's where you get Sam, but where you can get us is House of Talent Uganda on YouTube, but HTV1 Twitter and House of Talent Uganda on Facebook, and you can get me on every platform as Amon Mukisa, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, every platform. That's where you can follow me. Hit us up there and we'll continue the conversation about how CEOs or coffee houses are ready or prepared to open up with a full economy. And as the coffee break, we say, this has been a nice session. Big up to my man who's in a control room, big man Emma, who's not here today. You know, whenever he's not here, he's always on those decks giving us those nice shots. And big up to a man called Diallo, who's always on camera to make us look good. And as a House of Talent Uganda, we say, have a nice weekend.
itaranto hariho umutware yaratunze cyane afite n'abagaragu kera kabaye agira uruzinduko mu kindi gihugu ahamagara abagaragu be maze abasigira ubutunzi bwe umwamuha itarane eshanu undamuha ebyiri undamuha itarane imwe itagirira kabiri maze umutware arazinduka maze babagaragu batangira gukoresha za tarano nk'uko shebuja yazibasigiye uwahawe shana aragenda arazigenza agenzura amesha hano uwahawe ebyiri nawe abigenza atyo agenzuramo ebyiri maze wa wundi wahawe imwe aragenda acukura icobo ayishamo ya tarano aratinyuka arayitabaye nuko imitsi irahitindi irataha maze shebuja mu kuzindukuruka abarana nabo ibyo yabasigiye uwahawe shana araseruka ati databuja mwiza wansigiye shanu uzungutse izindi eshanu uwahawe ebyiri nawe araseruka ati databuja mwiza wansigiye ebyiri zungutse izindi ebyiri shebuja ati bagaragu banje beza nuko kuko mwakiranutse muri bike nico gitumye mbegurira byinshi ico nimuze mwinjire mu munezero wa shobuja maze wa wundi wahawe itarane imwe itagiriye kabiri adatera hejuru azayibobota cyane ati databuja narinzi kuri umunyamwaga usarura utabibye na munagane itarano narayitabye mu butaka dore ngiyo ufata ibyawe maze shebuja aramusubiza ati mbe mugaragu mubi niko wamunyabutewe ese ni wari ukwiye kuyiha abagenza maze nkasanga inyungu yayo nuko shebuja arayimwambura ayigabira wa wundi wungutse itarane 10 igiye mu zindi agira 11 kuko ufite wese azongererwa ariko udafite azanyagwa n'utwo yari afite maze wa mugaragu mubi baramuboha bamujugunya mu mwijima hanze azize ubupfapfa mbega agahinda we itaranto yawe yikoreshe neza igira umumaro mu gihe gikwiye itaranto yawe yikoreshe neza igira umumaro mu gihe gikwiye mbese gufasha abakene gusura abarwayi ibikorwa by'urukundo gushigikirana imirimo myiza igihe twahawe aya mafaranga nizo tarantu twasigiwe ngo zigire umumaro igihe tukiriho itarantu yawe iyikoreshe neza igira umumaro mu gihe gikwiye itarantu yawe iyikoreshe neza igira umumaro mu gihe gikwiye
I need to adapt. I mean, I always hear people who who have worked in Tanzania. Tanzanians are different. The way they do things at their pace and how they
shift and move things
relate among each other is very different.
Yes.
So if you come with your speed and you know, and forcefulness, you'll get a culture shock. They'll edge you out slowly in their nice way. Before you know it, you've left the company. You know, I remember earlier back in our breweries, we had similar people who used to come from South Africa at the time. Because Africa is obviously very fast-paced. It's about push, push, push. And a lot of them suffered. In fact, a time came when they said, you know what, this thing is not working. Let's empower now Ugandans. That's how we guys came through. Yeah.
personnel, if somebody came to you, a good medical leader says, I want you not only to be healed, but to be healthy. That's the kind of mindset that I see, and it's about self. So if you ask me, am I a leader? By the grace of God, I am a leader, and I am growing as a leader. And I thank God for that privilege of being a leader. And who is a leader to me? It's very simple. Someone that has a vision, but is also someone that is there serving people. For me, that's a leader. Vision is where you want to take things. Serving is the recognition that if the things do not matter to people, drop them.
Wow.
Drop them. Because at the end of the day, whatever we do must make a difference in people's lives. Anybody who has had huge impact in history, in leadership, the impact is not measured by just the things they did, but what those things did for people's lives. Did they make a difference? So it's useless for you to make so much money and the money does not add value to people's lives.
Wow.
So for me, yes, you have to have a vision, and at the end of the day, you are serving people. It doesn't change. Leadership is leadership, whether it is at what we would call a lower level or a top level. Leadership is leadership. It's about influence. It's that influence that comes from you have a vision and you are serving people. So what changes is the level of responsibility, but the other one that people don't like is the level of accountability. You see, Jesus said, to whom much is given, much will be required. So the only differences there is the level of responsibility. When you're at the national level, you are now responsible for an entire nation. When you are a CEO, now you're no longer just looking at the department, you are looking at the entire entity. The responsibility has changed, the accountability even goes higher. Hi, this is Julius Wotlonyo, pastor at Watero Church. Thank you so much for tuning into House of Talent Television. It's a great, innovative way of doing TV, and particularly for being a part of the CEO bench, talking about leadership. You know what, friends? Leadership can be tough. Leadership can be lonely, and the dynamics of leadership keep changing. I want to encourage you, watch the CEO bench so that you can get to hear real practical tips on leadership from people who are actually practicing leadership. Once again, thank you for being a part of the CEO bench right here on House of Talent Television.
Welcome to the CEO Bench. My name is Edio Killer on this very beautiful day when we bring you yet another CEO Bench. And of course, my guest in the studio, this particular episode of the CEO Bench needs no introduction. I first met him a few years ago when he was young, trying to set up an organization called Kitenge Africa. And he was a very passionate young man trying to, look after the street children and moving around the streets of Kampala to set up, an organization that looked after children. And I found it very fascinating. And so we gave him his first interview to basically communicate his dream, his vision, and why he was doing whatever he was doing at the time. Fast forward years down the road, we will meet ourselves again as fitness enthusiasts, as the word would say, and we were meeting in the gyms, in the coffee shops, and all running around and doing all this stuff. And as the fate has it, they say if a man has a dream and a vision, it will always go places. And a man without a vision is a man who is as good as dead, because you can wake up in the morning when you don't have a vision. And of course, later on in the years, he started the Ultimate Cycling with a group of friends, and today is the newest CEO, the newest Chief Executive Director on a rise. Ladies and gentlemen, welcoming my guests this morning, this afternoon, this evening, depending on which part of the world you are actually watching the CEO Bench from, Justus Kojaks Kojo. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Eddie.
Yes.
Very thrilled to be here once again. It is true, I last met, first met Eddie 8 years ago. I remember that I'd spent my series of spending a week on the streets. And I remember so well that I got a call from Eddie saying, look, we'd seen that you're hanging out on the streets with the homeless children, and we want to magnify you on a platform. And I thought, what a fascinating thing. And I remember so well, I'd gone back to Mpiji where we'd resettled the homeless children, and I remember thinking to myself, who am I actually going to meet, and what is this? Fast forward, it was a great opportunity. You know, the elevation and the pitch, and the outcome of, you know, leaders like Eddie, you know, identifying young folks in community trying to do better for everyone, really magnified me to this very day, and all of the things I'm about to tell you that I'm up to and I'm doing. And there couldn't be a better way to thank you, Eddie. And, you know, a leadership like yours and every other leader out there that is doing the best to elevate others. So thank you very much, Eddie, for having me here again.
You're welcome, Justus. And I'm glad we are having this conversation this morning. We want to start this interview really fast. And I want to tell everybody we are streaming this interview on Justus's Facebook page, as well as House of Talent. Go onto our website for all the 1.8 million people Ugandan in the diaspora. You are welcome to the show. And of course, you were nominated quite very heavily by a number of people. The CEO Bench is about nomination. Okay. And of course, people nominate people they want to see on the bench, and then our job is to bring them on the show.
Wow.
And people nominated you, and you are here. But I want to start from a lighter note, Justus.
Yes.
Who is Justus, if we were to ask in a nutshell?
Thank you very much. Justus, in a nutshell, is identified as a leader, but to be very particular, life business and leadership coach. I appreciate growth on a very personal level, and so everything that I improve, my self-improvement journey every day is something that I want to share with everyone else. Aside from that, really reading from my bio, I'm a social investor. I like to put my investment to the right portals or streams. Aside from that, I'm big on community impact. I love to, bless communities as a philanthropist. Aside from that, recently I've gone back to aviation, flying as a pilot. I really want to make it possible for any child, anywhere, especially those underprivileged, to be able to dream to become pilot and fly those big birds. In a nutshell, that is it. Oversee professional cyclist as a background, and a serial entrepreneur, which makes me also the CEO to the Ultimate Group of companies, a group of 8 lifestyle, fitness, and adventure companies.
Wow.
Thank you very much.
Justus, growing up, if somebody wants to know you, we want to know you. Who is Justus, growing up? Did you ever see yourself? If you take us to the journey of knowing who you are, we're just going to have a conversation here.
Yeah.
Knowing who you are and growing up, where did you grow up from? First of all, are you Ugandan? If yes, what are the values that define you as a Ugandan?
Thank you very much. I am Ugandan, Eddie. I was born in Barra, spent a bit of time there before I moved into the city, and before the opportunity to travel overseas came around. But really, the thing that excites me about my background, really, it's you can resonate, because there hasn't been anything extraordinary, growing up as an average kid. For me, I use that as a platform really to speak to everyone else, The core is that you should be able to dream and be exactly what you want to be.
Yeah.
Fast forward, I always had a dream, and as a kid, I actually wanted to do four main things. One was to fly, to be a pilot. Second was to build my parents a home. Third was to make a difference in two ways, you know. Make a difference within my community, but also make a difference from the business angle. And I would like to tell you that all the four things, I get my flying license anytime from now, later in the year. At 30, I'm 32 today, at 30 I was able, I feel so blessed actually. This brings tears to my eyes, but I gave my parents a brand new home in Chira. And for me, doing that, we can forget everything else, but you know, appreciating the hustle, you know, the effort and my parents put in to raise us, you know, as children, but also very, very responsible children. It's really one of my very own celebrated and heartfelt achievements. Aside from that, really I've always wanted to make a difference, you know, just making a difference in the lives of those, you know. I'm a product of mentorship. I'm a product of, you know, community. I was raised by many, and so I'm forever indebted from a difference making perspective. And then the fourth element is, you know, building businesses that also made a difference.
Wow.
So that is what it is for me today, Eddie.
Wow. If you're joining us for the first time on the CEO Bench, we are talking to Justus, who is the CEO and Executive Director of Ultimate Group of Companies. It's a cycling, you know, and a fitness group of companies based in Uganda, and of course, changing life. Justus, what a moment right there, and what a, you know, a point of transformation that you talked about. I like the story about your parents,
yes,
but I want to just take you straight to some more of a personal questions today. Who is Justus if I am first meeting you, or I'm meeting you for the first time, and I don't know what you do and how you do it?
Yes. Thank you very much, Eddie. Since 19, again, very, very lucky. I've been very lucky to craft my purpose since I was 19. And the reason I woke up this morning, the reason that I did what I did 8 years ago when Eddie first met me, was the same purpose, or the same reason that I pursue everything that I do today, Eddie. My purpose is to inspire the next year of global leaders and entrepreneurs. Okay, that is my purpose. That's the reason I do everything that I do. But really, the 5 main values that govern me, and if anyone has any objection around this, please reach out and let me know. But I truly identify 5 things. Okay, 1 is joy. Okay, I gotta show up happy no matter what. Lately, we have a pandemic. It's fine, you know, as a business owner, I'm crippled, you know, I'm stalled. But for me, joy transcends everything. Okay, value number 2, Eddie, is self-development, okay? I cannot be the same. I gotta do something, okay? Self-improvement is an absolute value to me. All right? The 3rd value, and by the way, the order doesn't matter. 3rd value is sharing, okay? It's unlawful for me not to split what I have. It's impossible. Else I didn't show up, else I wasn't, okay? The 4th is fitness, and by fitness is body, mind, friendships, relationships, business transactions, from a very healthy and fitness approach, absolutely, perspective. And the 5th is adventure, okay? I gotta be on an adventure, okay? I'm very, very thrilled and intrigued by the knowns and unknowns, okay? I gotta be somewhere trying to figure it out. And so for me, that as a path, or, you know, quest to seek and find things that I know and don't even know, is a very absolute value I hold dear to me.
Wow. Justus, growing up in the streets of Kampala and in Uganda for that matter, you were on the streets trying to help, you know, the street children. What preempted you to actually go in, you know, to do that? What motivated you to go into helping these children? What were you looking for?
No, thank you, Eddie, again. So again, the thing I learned early at 19, to be specific and particular, was that there was success and fulfillment that came out of sacrificing, okay? Obviously, I thank God for my parents and for everyone that, contributed to raising me. I had never been to a place of lack, especially to that level. And so for me, the first time I interfaced or talked to these homeless children, I knew that aligned the value of making a difference, okay? That I had pre-set, okay? It aligned the star of me starting my journey to make a difference in the lives of those, okay? And for me, getting and spending time with homeless children and truly comprehending the fact that no one cared about them, they were absolutely not sure about where their next meal came from. I just couldn't, even as a 19-year-old Eddie, I couldn't settle. I couldn't go back and behave like everything was fine. I had to make little differences, and then that energy, when you have the right energy, Eddie, you must know this, also as a Christian, you know that stars align, okay? And so meeting you, Eddie, and the elevation you gave me then, okay? As little as it might have seemed, makes a difference.
Wow. Yeah. Just as let's dive into more of a question, on the leadership. The CEO bench focuses on leadership, change management, and transformation.
Yes.
Having known you a little bit, of course, we'll get back to where you started and the company and all these things that you're doing. But I want to take you straight to some of the personal questions that I have for you before we go into that. And before we continue, we want to go into a break. And when we come back, we will be doing, change management, leadership, and transformation with Justus here. And if you have a question or comment or kisses, keep it coming. We'll be ready for it. Coffee break. The CEO will be right back.
The private sector is not yet fully utilized because not everybody can be employed by government. And we are looking at a future whereby more people are employed in the private sector than in government. So I think if we all work hard, if we all work together and invest in the right areas, there's been a lot of talk about value addition in the agriculture sector, in the mineral sector. If there is enough investment in those areas, I think it can create enough jobs for our children and grandchildren.
Okay. Yeah. I just want to take you to question number 4, Andrew, which is, let's talk about your journey at City Hall and the foray into the Executive Director's office, which is as Andrew Chitaka,
very
as
interesting.
well as the Director Engineering.
Very interesting. I joined KCCA on 1st November 2011. And before then I was
for so much. CEO of whatever. They give so much.
This is the reason why you're actually on the bench.
Because of my credibility. Thank you so much. But now they attack you, they vilify you. And the goal is to weaken you financially. Is to weaken your honor. These are slanderers. So I'm glad that someone would stay up at night to ask and learn about me. And I pray that in the next 2 months, because I know many Ugandans who travel overseas, when they go there, one of the things, because the media has been so much, and Sam Kutesa, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, has really not done a good job. He has dropped the ball on this issue. Why? So many of us are being accused of being gay killers, including me. You've just heard that person. Uganda is being accused that we kill gays, which actually is absolutely untrue. And because of this, it has affected our tourism. It affects people who go overseas to do work or study. It affects whenever you go to a conference. Hi, my name is Eddie Okiela. Where are you from? I'm from Uganda. Oh, you are the gay killers. And then you begin to describe. See, so one of the things that I've done is I've written a book, which should be coming out. I know that I keep saying the same thing, but the work of doing a book takes a long time, and I wish I could be supported. You know, many people who write on this subject, like Sylvia Tamale, she's supported by the Rockefeller Foundation, Carnegie Foundation. There is money.
Is a very big brand, and as we go on, we will probably discuss the things we're trying to do to see that things change for the better.
Good. Sean, on the CEO bench, for everyone who is following, we're live on our YouTube studio where we actually streaming from. So YouTube studio, for everybody asking for a link, is actually House of Talent Uganda.
Confident in themselves and what they're
It's a CEO bench. My name is Eddie Okela, and welcome from that break. In the studio is Justus Kojo, who is the CEO, the founder, and the Chief Executive Director of Ultimate Group Uganda, group of companies. Justus, welcome back to the program.
Thank you very much.
We want to take you straight to the leadership.
Yes.
What is your understanding of leadership? What is leadership to you?
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Eddie. As far as I can fathom, leadership is serving, okay? To be in a place of leadership, you must be willing to serve, okay? Unfortunately, I see so many people, especially in the African context, unfortunately, Eddie, I see so many people perceive leadership as power, okay? I would like to challenge them. I would like to challenge you leaders to think about leadership as going overboard, okay? Lay your hands out for those, okay? Do not wait to be, it's not about the appraise, or it's not about the worshiping, okay? You got it wrong, Be ready to go and serve, okay? Serve diligently, and out of that comes your true blessing.
Wow.
Yeah.
And on that note, Justus, are you a leader?
I absolutely believe so.
If yes, what makes you a leader?
Thank you very much for that. So one of the things I learned early also in life, Eddie, it's going overboard. Like I said, I'm a servant, okay? I said I'm a Christian. I am here to serve the Most High, okay? But also in the context of the day-to-day, I will tell you that, for everyone that interfaces with the Ultimate Group or wherever in the marketplace, you must know that for me, it's getting my hands dirty, okay? I am about to fold my sleeves here on the show because that's what it is for me, okay?
Yes.
We must be ready to do the work, all hands on deck and deliver, okay? The mission and the promise, okay? So, but over and above it all, one thing I learned early in life also, Eddie, is the element of giving value, okay? As a leader, given our positions, Eddie, we must be able to add as much value, okay? I see so many people come with the mindset of taking, okay? And unfortunately, that also creates barriers, because no one has it all to give, if you know what I mean, okay? As a leader, I do challenge you. It's something I would like to talk about later. You gotta be thinking about value addition, okay? As a leader, how do you give value? What do you have to give, okay? And I want to challenge you again. Every one of you has something to give, okay? No hand is too rich to receive and none too poor to give. Wow. So that's how I perceive a leadership, Eddie.
Wow. And on that question of leadership, I want to just, take you to what is your understanding of leadership from the society where you, from first of all, from a personal level,
yes,
from the family, from the society, from the corporation level
Yes.
where you sit now, and from
Yeah.
the national level. A lot of us don't get this quite very well. What's your understanding of that?
No, thank you very much. I'll start with the personal level, okay?
Yes.
I can't articulate it better than really the opportunity to serve, okay? Now, however, of course, as we go to serve, we must be willing to change, okay? We must be willing to conform, okay? I also like to say that we're all on a journey. None of us has arrived, okay? Eddie hosts me today. He's someone, a leader that I admire and look up to. But he's also on a journey, okay? I see you every day, Eddie, you know, posting about self-development and growth, and I see you talk to other seniors and peers that you're constantly learning from. So there is a formula I have around, and it's the spirit of awakening, okay? I like to challenge all you leaders out there, okay? From a personal level, if you want to see something different in your life, Eddie, to everyone out there listening in, you must be very intentional about the change you want to see, okay? Change only begins with you, okay? There is no way we're going to change our nation, our continent, and the world if you're not starting with ourselves, okay? Absolutely. So it's inward out, okay? So go in, work on your character. Character is within, and then personality and everything comes out later. One of my favorite metaphors and one of the tools I like to basically speak to people around that, Eddie, is so many people, especially as stuck as we might be, you know, I know that everyone is at a different place, okay? All you people listening in, we are all at different places, okay? This morning, everyone woke up with their own energy, okay? Some of you might be watching us live, you know? You know, under your beds, that's fine. Some might be somewhere, you know, your work desk streaming in live, and some maybe are stuck in traffic or whatever, okay? Now, the most overlapping thing I hear is, where do I start from, okay? And Eddie, I have been constantly thinking about how to challenge you to think about self-development, okay? Starting now on, and this is actually why I put it, Eddie, okay? And I know that so many of us are going to resonate, okay? For those speaking from, you know, religious background, okay? There's been a moment where we've given our lives to God, okay? To Christ, okay? And to Allah, all of the respective fraternities, okay? There dawns a spirit, a fever, a feel on you that you are tired of the past, okay? And you want to see something new, okay? I hope you all can relate, okay? Something occurs to you as I am done with the past. I want a new future, okay? Present and future, okay? Now, I challenge you to think about all the things you want to do better, okay? At a personal level, start with that. It could be, you know, it could be snoozing your alarm, you know. Some of us struggle to wake up, you know. I'm a 4 a.m. riser, okay? I'm actually challenging myself to put it to 3 a.m. Eddie, I also know you're a very early riser, okay? And there's nothing that beats that, okay? This is not the rationale. This is not the end of life. But I'm just using this as an example.
So that would be your self-leadership motivation.
So, you know, be intentional. You got to be intentional. You mean it
if you want to achieve something.
Absolutely. Okay, Eddie, I see you doing all these, you know, tremendous, energizing lifts in the gym, you know, and I can tell you, you gotta build the right momentum, build the right energy and attitude, and go in. Okay. Now we flip that to the organization. Okay. Now, from an organizational standpoint, I truly believe that leadership is at the center of it all, okay? There could be company culture, there could be your vision overall as an organization, there could be other factors that play in, such as environmental. There are things you have control over and not, but really what's at the center of everything is the leadership, okay? So organizational level, I put it to leadership, okay? And one thing I've learned at work, you know, organizational leadership, Eddie, is that everything is on me as a leader. If I walk into that boardroom and it's dirty, it's not the cleaner, it's me.
Because the cleaner probably have seen from you that you are not clean, so and there's no drive to them to do something.
Absolutely, you know, if it is fraud recently, and of course if you run an organization, any what, you know, big size organization, you know, things like fraud transcend, okay? And I was chatting one of my team leads and telling them, look, whereas we might be confronted by this challenge, first of all, I see it as an opportunity for us to grow, but also it's on us, leadership. Because if you build the right systems, the right processes, it's on you to build the right teams, you know, that are not tempted by, you know, littlest petty things, people that should buy into the vision. So that's still a leadership problem. So leadership is at the center of organizational leadership change, but also I encourage every other leader to learn, you know, let's learn to own up, okay, to the things that confront us day in, day out. And finally, Eddie, sorry, the national level, really, it is, again, you know, if you want to be the city where pedestrians are respected, cyclists are respected, where there's order, where corruption is not a thing, it really starts with you as well, okay? And we cannot be pointing those fingers at the Most High. To be honest, if every one of us went in, do that work, I think the change is obvious.
Wow. Well, you're listening to Justus Kojaks, the founder and you know, Chief Executive Director of Ultimate Group of Companies in Uganda. If you're watching up from anywhere across the world, we want to say welcome to the CEO Bench. If you're catching for the first time, you've got to share this link far and wide to your friends. Justus, just before we take our next break, I just want to ask you one more question before we move from the leadership point of view. How does one actually begin to pick themselves up? How do I get out of the comfort zone of my life? A lot of young people who want to make it in life are always whining and, you know, and crying and saying so many things. And it goes back to nobody's giving me opportunity, nobody gave me a chance to do something. But here you are sitting and telling us what you have done to get through your life. Would you like to share on that personal leadership and self-leadership what I need to do? 3 things that I must do now that will take me to the next level, that I can get up and I also be like you tomorrow, as a leader.
Thank you, Eddie, for the opportunity. If you're listening out there, this is my encouragement to you, okay? First principles, okay? Eddie, every one of us gotta know that purpose, okay? If you can't articulate why you woke up this morning, my favorite thing to say is go back and sleep, figure that out, come back, okay? Because else you're going to be of more harm than good. Eddie, let's think about it, right? If you have no reason to wake up, go back and sleep. You have a reason, get up, okay? So the number one thing, everything that I do revolves around purpose. Eddie, if we're going to Jinja and here we are going to Mbarara, how much longer is it going to take us? Whereas if our coordinate is Jinja, we hit it, Jinja Road, simple, right? So number one, know your purpose. Have some tools to actually plug in if you'd like to. Please reach out. I am happy to work with you, okay? This is what I live for, and I would like to, you know, support you grow at purpose. The second thing is once you know your purpose, okay, know the things you're good at, okay? Because that is your value to give, okay? Eddie hosts us today, and actually most of you can't see the amazing young men behind, the team behind the show, the people working, you know, they are talented at what they do, and that is how we are here, okay? In other words, that is their value to give, okay? That's the value you bring, okay? I have a formula around keeping yourself relevant, Eddie, okay? You gave me value today. You say, Justus, I'm reaching out, okay? I tell you, I get very busy, okay? Especially now that I'm back to, you know, a flying school. But you're giving me value. I have no reason not to show up. This is very good value, Eddie, okay? Now, know your value and be willing to give it, okay? You have free value and you have paid value. Okay, Eddie, I can only.
How do I know which one is free and which one is for paid? Because a lot of us don't even know the difference between the two. Whether this is paid value or this is not paid value, we don't know.
That's true. That is also coaching that I do. Okay, because Eddie, between you and I, if you would have asked me to pay $500, should have paid it because I see the value, okay? But maybe this is a series, okay? Maybe you're building momentum, you are building, you know, a portfolio, okay? That next time you have to host CEOs, they are paying $1,000 and more to be here, okay? So Facebook is free, but there's a paid version of it, isn't it? Yes. Instagram is free, there's a paid version, okay? So once you know your skill sets, Eddie, okay? Know what to give. In other words, I am Justice, I'm a leader, I represent entrepreneurship, life coaching, and business life and leadership coaching, and this is my free value to give now, okay? However, if you want me over and above it all, this is what my paid version looks like.
Wow.
Exactly.
And the third thing,
and
you
the
talked
third,
about purpose, you talked about value, so
Absolutely.
we want to go to the third one.
Now the third one really is to be proactive, okay? Once you know those things, okay? Yes. I'll walk into Mandela at CJ's and tell him, look, here's 30,000 worth of leadership, okay? Now what is leadership? Leadership is Eddie, you and I going in to talk to the amazing staff at CJ's, okay? Now we value our time, okay? And the tools we bring in, and that equates to that. Eddie, one challenge I have for you is, and this is actually the thing I do with coaching, you know? Yeah. Now, for instance, Eddie, I would like your bio to say somewhere, okay? Because you've given us leaders platform, to speak and be heard and to impact, okay? Even though this is free value given, I would like to challenge you to account for your everything. Yes. The people behind the cameras, your equipment, your power, your time. It's fine to say, Justice, I gave Justice $1,000 of value. And if your bio says, every year, I donate $300,000 worth of value to other leaders, to elevate them, to magnify them so their mission is out there. If I read that on your LinkedIn, I really want to connect, okay? And that attracts the right energy. Wow. Okay? So, purpose, know what you're good at. Matter of fact, be very good at it. And number 3, be very willing to give. Account for your time. Time is money.
Wow. Well, guys, just as right there, we're going to take another break. The CEO Bench will be back, but on the CEO Bench is Justice Kojaks, who is the founder and the CEO or the Chief Executive Director of Ultimate Group of Companies in Uganda. We'll be right back after this break. This is the CEO Bench.
Olowo, thank you for watching House of Talent Television. I love to inspire people. I love to talk about my experiences and how God has been able to use me in the different exposures. And through the leadership, through change management and transformation, I've been able to do a couple of things in my life. Now, are you a kind of person who is tired of your status quo? Do you want your situation to change? Are you tired of what is going on in your life? You know, change is a fact of life. We've all been through experiences in the last couple of months that have taken us to a place where we need to do something about our lives. We need to change whatever is going on. So if you have not piled up investment for yourself, you need to do that. If you've not done businesses to hold your family in future, you need to do that. Are you thinking of full-time employment? You need to be thinking about your life after employment or your business in the next couple of years. So if you want us to chat, if you want us to talk about this, please get in touch with us at SEAL Uganda on number 0772443085 or check our website www.sealuganda.com or on all the social media handles. You can hook me up or Facebook, that is Jean-Paul Olowo, on Instagram, Jean-Paul Olowo, and on Twitter and LinkedIn. Then we can chat a way forward with you. We can help you, we can coach you, we can walk with you this journey of financial freedom. Thank you.
Welcome back from that break. This is CEO Bench. My name is Eddie Okila, and in the studio is Justus Kojaks, who is the founder and the Chief Executive Director of the Ultimate Group of Companies in Uganda. Justus, welcome back to the program.
Thank you very much, Eddie.
I love the part that you talked about purpose.
Yes.
A lot of us don't have purpose in life.
Yes.
We are doing so many things, we don't know what purpose, for what purpose, for what reason are we doing this. And that is tied to self-leadership. Yes. Self-leadership is giving self meaning, appointing self, and giving self opportunity to do something.
Right.
And the second thing you talked about was, be more aware of the value that you're giving out. What is my value?
Yes.
You cannot demand for more pay or more money or more value from others when you're not giving the same value. No. And in fact, just as as a CEO, I want to just take you straight to that moment where we begin to go into change management.
Yes.
A lot of people try to, say you are a CEO, I know you employ people in an organization. And I meet so many people who want to be paid high, paying checks or receiving high paying checks. But whenever you ask them, so what is your value? What are you giving for the company to give you this much? We have struggled to get people who can tell me or who can tell us that I give this much value, therefore I'm worth this much value. If you go and stand on the street, you find very few people who can tell you what their value is, but you speak very passionately about value. I want to touch it a little bit more. Yeah. To the person who works for you and demand for more money, but is not worth the money. How do you deal with that situation?
No, thank you, Eddie. It's a common thing, but I also trust that being the leader I am, or at least continue to learn to be, more than anything, I want my people, anyone that comes, it's a partnership, it's collaborative, like we like to call it, to be a part of the ultimate family. These things eventually come out, There's gotta be coachings that happen every time to time. You gotta be able to account for your time, for what you're asking, okay? And so it's very common, that's for sure. But one of the things that, working or being a part of the ultimate group of companies really directly or indirectly basically shapes you to understand is, quantifying, measurable value, tangible value, okay? And so that is really my approach, okay? But like you said, idea again, back to everyone else listening, you must be able to account, for your value given, put in the time, put in the hours and get the results. And then you can leverage that, okay? Come in and tell me, look, see, we made $50,000 out of this. It's fair to ask for anything, okay? It's very, very fair to ask for anything thereafter, okay?
Wow. Just as not every one of us is capable of doing that. We're looking at a check that is on the screen right there, and that's you with a group of people. We want to talk about the ultimate cycling, the ultimate group of companies and, a couple of your products and what you're actually offering, and you as a CEO of executive director of, you said, among 8 other people. Would you take us through what is the service that is offered by, the ultimate group of companies?
No, thank you, Eddie, for the opportunity. So we are a group of 8.
Yes.
Adventure, fitness, and tourism, okay? Now, the flagship brand, the thing that started first is Ultimate Cycling.
Yes.
Ultimate Cycling is a community of passionate riders and bike shops, okay? Now, out of the bike shop, we also birthed the first professional bike brand, which is the Gorilla Bikes, okay? I benchmark the name Gorilla because racing out of Uganda, North America, Europe, South Africa, Asia, people relate Uganda to Idi Amin or the gorillas, okay? So for me, I took that opportunity to benchmark and retell the story of Uganda, okay? Hence the Gorilla Bikes, and 5% of our top line revenue goes to conserving the gorillas, okay? Now, one other reminder is I live for community and leadership, okay? So all of the businesses that we run, they are very, very community sensitive, okay? So 5% of the Gorilla Bikes goes to the conservation of the gorillas we have in Uganda. Fast forward, actually, I'm really excited to tell you about our latest product we're launching. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the Ultimate Adventures mobile application, which is basically the first activities only multi-sided platform, vendors and the adventure seeker. It's a market platform for you. It's a marketplace online for you to actually book all of your activities. Now, our beautiful core proposition is basically co-creating non-existing activities in Uganda, okay? We launched Independence Day this year. We have really, really cool and amazing things, but also one of the products we have actually coming is we're basically going into the aviation space, okay? Now we have the ultimate aviation club coming. This is basically licking the cat out of the basket, but we have to dream, guys, you know?
Yes, of course.
So we want to make a lot of things possible, especially from a tourism aviation perspective in Uganda. But continuing on with the other brand, we have the Ultimate Fitness Kampala, which is a premium workout space in Uganda. And like I said, I don't show up without giving value. Eddie, allow me to give you a family membership, annual membership. You and your family are now on members of the Ultimate Fitness Kampala Club because you love to work out. So anytime your membership card is running, and so please welcome, you know.
Wow. I don't think that this guy has actually understood what you've just given the show. You know, so let me just give you an understanding of what the membership is when we talk about membership in the gym. That's probably $1,200.
Yes.
A year.
Yes.
And it could be even more than that.
No, absolutely. Now with, you know, family is $2,000.
$2,000.
$2,000 a year.
Wow.
Yes.
Which usually so many people are looking for. So thank you very much, Justus.
Of course, Eddie. Thank you.
And I want to just take you straight to the next point here. Changing lives.
Yeah.
You started moving from a young person to changing your life. We're going into change management.
Yes.
A lot of us don't know how to transition from one point to the next point. We're struggling to know what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. We don't know. But you're here right now. You're a CEO, executive director of a group of companies that are doing amazing things out of Uganda, going to the world. If I'm watching you from anywhere across the world and I don't know what to do, I mean, what would you say was the journey of change management from your perspective? And I want to say change management from this kind of perspective. What is your understanding, first of all, of change management? And which principles are you always using as Justus to move from point A to point B to point C?
Yes.
And also the change management from the ultimate cycling. When you first started, I remember launching your first, you know, group ride going to Jinja, I think from Kisementi a couple of years ago. And down the road, the company has now moved on to assembling bikes and, you know, and to, you know, the aviation part of it, the tourism part of it, and now we are going into the applications for booking part of it. What is your understanding of change management, and which principles do you use as an individual to move out from where you are to the next level? Because it's not easy.
Thank you very much, Eddie. Allow me to quote my favorite, one of my favorite humans in this country, Amos Wekesa.
Yes.
I hope you're watching, or at least give us a mention here, okay? Yes. I am very fascinated by Amos's story, okay? Yes. And I remember we're talking to, you know, all of the DPCs in Uganda and Olilim, and I remember Amos articulating his story, okay? Amos is not afraid to say he was so poor, you know, born and raised, well, raised in an orphanage type of setting, and coming into the city to do the hustle, okay? I remember the thing that stood out for me most, Eddie. Amos said he used to walk, okay, of sorts from kind of Bukoto to Nsambia only to eat meat, okay? Yes. And that brought so much delight, okay? However, on his way back walking, of course the meat starts to cut, okay? Yes. Now, in Amos's words, I remember that he said, while walking, suddenly he started crying, okay? He was very poor, okay? That he started crying, okay? Now, to me, that occurs to me as that moment where you are tired, you know? I want to see something different for myself, Eddie, okay?
I want to change.
I want to change, yeah? If you don't catch that, unfortunately, things might stay the same, okay? So catch those triggers. What are you tired of, okay? Okay? Eddie, I celebrate you today. It's a delight being here, okay? You have come from point A to B. Yeah. You have a vision. Takes me back to purpose. Yes. What do you want in life, okay? And how are you going to take your strides, okay? My other very favorite metaphor, Eddie, was before my very first flight, okay? hearsay, planes go, glide, okay, turbulence, etc. That's fine, okay? My very first flight, I didn't know what takeoff was. I didn't know what landing was, but I fixed my eyes or my attention to takeoff, okay? Now check-in, all of that stuff, taxiing, you know, basically the craft leaving wherever it is to the runway. Ladies and gentlemen, okay? When runway moment, when takeoff moment comes, you will know, okay? The momentum builds, the sound, everything is, I am ready to go. This is a huge unit vessel, trimming, gliding the skies. Oh man, guys, I get very passionate about this, but really it is that you want to see something different. Go scratch, dig the ground, mean it, Eddie, okay? Mean it to go from point A to B. Otherwise, same old story.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, how do we communicate change moving forward? You know, from what you're saying, assuming you're moving from your job to the next job, or you're moving from another organization to the next organization, how would you be able to communicate that to others? Because another problem we have with most people normally is moving from one point to the next point. They don't know how to go about it, and sometimes some people burn the bridges, or you know, crash the plane. You know, in the takeoff you crash and then you can't go back inside. How do you manage and how do you communicate to say, guys, I'm moving from point A to point B, I'm sorry but I'm moving now? How do you communicate that, and how are you managing changes in those different organizations that you have at the Ultimate Group?
No, thank you very much, Eddie. So change is inevitable, and there's never a day anything is kept constant, okay? So going back to first principles, okay, if you are an asset, if you're of value to your organization, okay, then you must be able to respect that, okay? You're an asset, okay? Unfortunately, there's assets and liabilities, okay? So if you are positioned as an asset, as a leader, if you know your purpose, articulately and clearly, you should be able to, you know, say, look, my time has come and here's a new opportunity. But also flipping that, Eddie, I get that a lot, you know? I get people come and go. And I can tell you that some people just come in and let you know, look, sir, here comes a time. It's been a great, wonderful journey. And it pains, you know, your heart bleeds, okay? But the one thing I tell everyone at Ultimate is, okay, Ultimate is not the beginning and the end, okay? Also, as a leader, I appreciate that, you know, I want the best for you, okay? And if I can't give it to you, if anything has come, then please take it on, okay? However, also the other thing I've seen with a lot of, you know, fellow employers, it's, even actually speaking to the employees, okay, I see people transition and live in, you know, a bit of turbulence, okay? Now, I want to encourage you really as an employer, and also something I learned from Amos Wekesa, do not put emotions, okay? So from an employer-employee perspective, we agree that life is a journey, and that's it, okay? So the benchmark is, as a leader, I know that you're another leader, you know, you're going to sprout and branch, you know, go be anything, you know. I wish I had it all to give you, but that is how life is.
Wow. That said, on the change management, my last question on the change management, what are the secrets that you have used in managing change from Kitenge to, you know, your family to Kitenge, and then from Kitenge to, you know, the Ultimate cycling, the, you know, and then going into what you are now, you know, becoming in life as a CEO of the organization? I'm sure along the way, there are some secret stuff that you have done to get you there. If you would share with us, what are those things that you used in managing change to get from one point to the next point?
No, really,
three things, if you
three
have
things,
mind.
I think the very first thing is consistency, okay? Managing change, and especially, you know, building a team, you know, feeling so delighted in what you've built, and for many other reasons, seeing, you know, some people drop. or even seeing the vision change, it only takes one thing: consistency and commitment. Yes. Actually, commitment being the second, to really stick to that coordinate. Okay. Yes. Otherwise, very, very, very easy to get, you know, deviated. Yeah. I think I would work by the two, but really also the other third thing actually to say is, one, you must be able to dream, have a good vision, and be able to sell it. Wow. I think the other very, very important thing, the gap with all of the most of the entrepreneurs, at least I see, is, you know, the lack of, you know, you must articulate your vision. Yeah. It's got to be a real good vision, big, and then sell it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Justus, we're talking to Justus Kojaks right here on the CEO Bench. The CEO Bench focuses on bringing people like him who are on the move to the top, and those who are aspiring to lead you to a position of success. You know, if you're not careful, they can also lead you to a position of failure. And those already on the top and coming down, we've hosted many people here as CEOs, and we are here to allow them share their experiences as people who have done it and people who are doing it, and so that you can learn a thing or two from Justus. I want to just bring you through straight first to the question that I have from somebody. Okay. Says, "Hi, Eddie Okila, thank you very much for bringing Justus on the show. That gentleman inspires me. I saw him when I was at Watoto Church when he was growing up. Look at the person he has become today. I'm an old person, but the young man challenges me with the things that he's doing." Wow. Justus, I have a question for you.
All right.
How can I turn around my life from employment? I've been in employment for long, and I'm hearing what you're saying right now. I can't even do 3 of the things you're doing. Can you just share one thing that I can do at my age as a 54-year-old man still in employment to move? I want to move into, you know, self-employment or move into retirement, but I don't know how to go about it. And then you talk about fitness. How do you ride a bike from Jinja all the way to Karamoja and back? What courage? Who do I need to spend time with? Yes. I mean, suddenly this person knows you. Suddenly this person talks about, makes reference of, you know, time they have had with you at Watoto. Yes. And he's still in employment. Yes. I think you've had this question before we go into the transformation. Yes.
No, absolutely. Thank you very much. So 2 things. I will start with the cycling, Kampala, Karamoja, Jinja, Karamoja, and back. Yes. For the record, I have friends that have cycled the whole world, 4 years, 6 years on that bike, pedaling, okay? Now, in translation to this, to scale it down to this, for me, I love metaphors, by the way, okay? So I use cycling as a journey, okay? So we are all going through life, and obviously you have your course, okay? If I'm going from here to point B, it is a journey. The ups, the downs, the weather changes, sometimes we fall off our bikes. That is fine. We meet awesome people, we meet some not very nice people to us. So really it goes back to the principle of, you know, the vision, the purpose, okay? Obviously we get discouraged, we get encouraged, even with business, with life, you meet the same on the trail, okay? The most important thing takes me back to the principle of purpose. Know who you are, what you want, and start there, okay? Now, brings me back to the second question. One of the things I teach with business coaching is I love building models that are basically built around passion. Know your purpose, that's the principle, but number 2, know your passions, okay? Now, for me, I love biking, okay? This is something I would do for nothing, okay? Passion also translates to something you'd suffer for, Eddie, right?
Yes, true.
Like the passion of Christ. Christ suffered for us, okay? I would basically suffer for biking. However, imagine this scenario, okay? Now, bikes, okay? Riding a bike pays me, okay? What a perfect scenario. Like, how good could it get? If you're doing something that you do for nothing, but then now it's paying you, okay? So first principles, I love building models around our passion. Let's talk about your why, but also go into understand what are things you like, okay? Do you love farming? Do you like to see animals thrive? And, you know, do you just like talking to people? Are you a comforter? Build a model around that, okay? And it's something I'm also really happy to do. I'm happy to donate time and we build a model for whoever asked that question. So really, I think that's how far I can go for now. but really know your purpose, know your passions, and the third line is basically your values. What governs you, okay? If you have those set of values, then that's your code.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And then best case scenario, tier 2 is how do you go passion to portfolio, okay? The things you love to do, make money, monetize that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that just us right there on the CEO Bench. We're going to take another break, and when we come back, the CEO Bench will talk about transformation as the last part of the show, and as well as we want to dig deep into the 2021 coronavirus situation. You know, what are the learnings from there, from the business perspective, from a man who owned a gym, and the gym business is down. They've invested quite a significant amount of money in setting up the ultimate gym and the place down there in Bugolobi, right here in the city of Kampala.
Yeah.
And if you've visited, you have seen the place. If you've gone there to get a bike, you've seen the place. How do you bounce back from that loss of COVID-19? Stay right there, I'll be right back after this. This is the CEO Bench.
My name is Dr. Jinpo Olowo. Thank you for watching House of Talent Television. I love to inspire people. I love to talk about my experiences and how God has been able to use me in the different exposures. And through the leadership, through change management and transformation, I've been able to do a couple of things in my life. Now, are you a kind of person who is tired of your status quo? Do you want your situation to change? Are you tired of what is going on in your life? You know, change is a fact of life. We've all been through experiences in the last couple of months that have taken us to a place where we need to do something about our lives. We need to change whatever is going on. So if you have not piled up investment for yourself, you need to do that. If you've not done businesses to hold your family in future, you need to do that. Are you thinking of full-time employment? You need to be thinking about your life after employment or your business in the next couple of years. So if you want us to chat, if you want us to talk about this, please get in touch with us at SEAL Uganda on number 0772443085, or check our website www.sealuganda.com, or on all the social media handles. You can hook me up or Facebook, that is Jinpo Olowo, on Instagram, Jinpo Olowo, and on Twitter and LinkedIn. Then we can chat a way forward with you. We can help you, we can coach you, we can walk with you this journey of financial freedom. Thank you.
There's a lot that is involved in the civil society organizations. There's leadership in itself, there's management of processes, there's management of the human resource, there's fundraising, there's research. It's a lot that needs to be done. And many times there is a feeling that is too much for a woman, because she has other traditional roles that she needs to do as at home. So many times as people are looking for leaders in civil society organizations, the priority is usually given to men, because of our society that feels that men have the time, men have the capacity, men have the ability to lead, to take this organization to greater heights. And women, there will be a problem. They will have to go to maternity leave. They have issues. They are too emotional. They have not done the courses that are good enough for leaders. They don't have time to go for extra learning, or to go for work outside Kampala, because they have to tend to their children. So there's too much that society has tied around a woman. And it's true, we have these traditional roles that we have to do, but does not in any way mean that women cannot lead in these spaces.
No. It is the CEO Bench. Welcome back from that break. My name is Eddie Okela, and Justus, welcome back to the program.
Thank you.
First of all, I want to share some love coming out from some of the people watching you.
Oh, thank you.
And Ella Don watching from Nanguru, the city suburb of Kampala. Thank you very much. She says she's following the show.
Nice.
And I have my brother from another mother, Daniel, in the US, saying I stayed up late to basically follow up the show. And I've got another gentleman all the way in Australia, says it's late in my my place of residence right now, but I love seeing those people do their thing. I saw their race in Karamoja with Amos Wekesa. That was amazing, and I love it. Wow. So there are people who have been following, and I have a gentleman here called Loja Businje saying, keep winning, bro.
Oh, yes.
I'm following the show. And then, of course, I have got my brothers from another mothers in Tanzania. Said, I love the story of, running around with a bike. I've seen Amos Wekesa and Justus doing some amazing stuff. They inspire me to get into riding the bike as a part of my fitness. That's the good stuff.
Oh, yes.
You want to read some from there?
Oh, yeah, thank you very much. I also want to thank everyone on my page right now live. Moses in Dubai, thank you very much. Actually, Moses saw me take it from 10. I used to have a crazy bike, BMX, and they must have thought I was crazy, but here we are today. Yes. Consistency is everything.
From childhood, you are riding the bike.
10 years, yes. Same goes to Roger Businje here. My mother is actually tuned in here.
Wow.
So this is Mommy, and Chichi is my last born.
Yes.
They say they are very, very proud of me. Of course, I'm very, very proud of you all. Thank you very much, by the way. My parents, I thank you in a very, very tremendous way. My sisters, I'm the only son of 5.
Yes.
I appreciate you, Mom. I can't be here, Dad, family, sisters, and all of my extended family. There is no way, Eddie.
Yes.
I could have been here today if it were not for my parents.
Wow.
Okay?
Wow.
Yes. But overseas, sorry,
Yes.
I see Don Larry as well.
Yes.
Cynthia in Belgium, someone I also grew up with here.
Yes.
And Ida, my yearly fellow. I appreciate you guys. And everyone else, thank you for the love. We
Wow,
appreciate it.
wow. So we want to read another one from here, coming from London. My name is Joyce. I'm based in London. I love to see those two people ride a bicycle. They have turned around. They made Kampala now has become a place to ride the bike. Thank you guys for leading the way, and thank you for investing in making people live healthy life. I'm enjoying the show. Where have I been? Well, the CEO Bench has been here all these years, guys, and of course we want to say thank you very much for being a part of the family of the CEO Bench growing bigger and better. Justus, our time is fast spent, but we want to go back to the show.
Yes.
I want to take you straight to transformation.
Yes.
Transformation requires that everything that we're doing has a measurable metrics.
Yes.
In order for us to make an impact or to measure the impact of what we're doing, we must have justifiable, measurable metrics to follow what we're doing.
Yes.
Now, you have obviously been changing lives and turning around things wherever you have been.
Yes.
What are the tools that you use to measure your impact of the things you're doing? 1, the community. 2, on the individuals that you interact with. 3, on the people you work with. And 4, in your own family?
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Eddie. I get that a lot. I oversee, because we juggle and, you know, I'm a dreamer, okay, doing so many things at the same time, okay? So oversee, you will get revenues, you know, good indicators. If it's business, you will get, like for the Kitenge Africa Foundation, you know, basically getting kids go through school, you know, we use very, very strategic M&E tools to basically account for 100,000 lives reached and impacted somewhat. Family, really, it is well-being, wellness. It is one of actually my favorite things here is also failure, Eddie, okay? And that brings me back to something I'll talk about, you know. So mindset, how we look at things, okay? Failure for me, I celebrate failure, okay? As an entrepreneur, I have so many wins and so many falls, okay? So I choose to perceive failure as a success because it is graduation. It is basically getting me wiser and giving me a very different opinion, you know, about things that I've tried. Because otherwise then, I'm forever in remorse of, you know, the unknown. I wish I'd done that and maybe could have, you know, been anything. So over and above everything else, failure is something actually I use as a tool, okay, to measure progress and success.
Wow. And in terms of transformations, how is your project transforming the lives of the people that you are implementing? For example, talk about the, you know, the cycling business. How is it transforming the lives of people who buy the bicycles from you? Do you have the tool to measure that?
Yes, absolutely. So first off, we have part of the reason the Ultimate Cycling Uganda was started was there was lack of similar or like-minded, you know, communities, okay? Now, as we speak right now, we have a database, okay, of over 3,000 people that are vested into cycling, or at least very, very deliberate about, you know, the development of cycling in Uganda. We have liaison and engagement with the KCCA, the government of Uganda, UNRA, okay, and obviously you see the president talk a lot about the opportunity to create bicycle lanes, you know. Every other lockdown, the president talks about, you know, people going out on their bicycles, okay. That is tangible, and I would like to say that, you know, the vision at Ultimate Cycling is to enthuse people to cycle, okay. I can tell you that people are enthused about cycling. The only one thing I have to say is people that are driving cars and bodabodas or bikes, please have some regard for the cyclists, you know, because we are very eco or environmental friendly. We do not remit or throw out any gases. It is very, very good. Of course, it's a very good physical exercise, you know, physical, mental, and all of the above, but also there's a very big social element, you know. We ride with CEOs, you know. Eddie has flagged us here. Eddie has a CEO flagging a bunch of CEOs and others, okay. We've basically been able to employ, we basically have our operations around the country now in Bunyonyi, Jinja, Mbale, Mukono, and Kampala, and we're actually spreading out, okay. All of that is employment opportunities, but also whenever we go out into communities, Eddie, to ride, like when we go from here to Karamoja, we're basically going with support vans, which are basically, you know, getting a lot of gas. We are eating on our trail. We basically pay for accommodation. We check into lodges and, you know, have a comfortable bed after a long day. And so that is a lot of value addition down the chain.
Wow. Yeah. Well, let's talk about 2020. The coronavirus pandemic came into the world and turned around everything.
Yes.
You, as an investor, and your colleagues have just invested into a very big, beautiful place.
Yes.
The ultimate gym.
Yes.
The investment.
Yes.
What has been the impact of coronavirus onto that business, and how are you dealing with it?
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Eddie. So again, for me, it's the paradigm shift, mindset, okay? So whereas COVID is here, first of all, I acknowledge that COVID doesn't only slap us as a business. Everyone is, okay? My best, as most grounded, knowing that aeroplanes at some point were all grounded, okay? Now, if all of the, you know, multi-billion-dollar industries are grounded, then who are we, you know? But fast forward, here we are today. COVID has taught us that we can basically sell gym equipment. So we basically run that as a showroom.
Wow.
Okay, right now Ultimate Fitness basically consults in gym management, gym equipment, gym construction. And so if you're out there, you want to build a gym at home, all these condominium blocks and apartments coming up, the lodges have a lot of need for that. That is basically what COVID has taught us.
So that's what you transformed your business.
That is it.
In the COVID-19
Pretty much,
situation
yes.
period. That's what you trained on.
Absolutely. But also the beauty is, not only to sell to Kampala, okay? Because it's also very limiting with a physical location. Your market size is that little. Now, when we go online and sell equipment, then we are servicing East Africa. That is the vision, okay? A beautiful e-commerce website that basically services East Africa and across.
Wow. Let's talk about what are you looking for in life as a person? With all of this going on at your age now, what are you looking for in life? What more are you looking for in life?
Yeah. In a nutshell, I'll take you back to my purpose. Why I woke up this morning is to inspire the next tier of global leaders and entrepreneurs. Everything that I do, Eddie and everyone else watching, revolves around that. That's the epitome, that's the center of my heart, okay? Now, what I'm doing now with all of the new products we're launching is basically creating 1 million jobs across the African continent. Because you are leveraging innovation and technology, okay? Once we launch, okay, we are basically scaling across Africa and basically hence creating jobs, and you can go down that value chain, okay? It is basically 1 million jobs across the African continent. Once that is arrived at, I am free.
Wow.
Absolutely.
I want to just ask you a question, the closing question actually, really. What excites you every day you wake up in the morning? Every day you wake up in the morning, what is getting you so excited about that when you get up in the morning, you're excited, and what do you want to achieve with that excitement?
Yes. Thank you, Eddie. So, the most overlapping thing or the most transcending thing for me here is purpose, values, and my passions, okay? Now, I feel very lucky again. I'm so aligned, okay? When I'm doing, community transformation and leadership projects, For instance, when one of the most priceless moments I've had in life, I remember just going to a corner, docking myself for a minute, was playing soccer, football, with former homeless children who were taken from Kampala to Mpiji, okay?
Wow.
Now, that is wealth, okay? And I just want to tell you now, as I wrap it up, for me, it is, we are looking, okay, the reason I woke up again is to basically build the next generation and not buy the next building, okay? So we are not looking for the next building to buy or to build. We are basically looking for the next generation to build, okay?
Wow.
And for me, that is my why. Every time I get up in the morning, it is, what difference can I make, okay? Because out of that defines my true definition of wealth, okay?
Wow.
Thank you very much.
Wow. Wow. I want to say a big shout out to my brother from another mother, JB Atine, all the way in, I think in Belgium. JB, thank you very much for being part of the CEO bench, growing bigger and better. And of course, I want to reach out to my sister from another mother, Professor Penny Nachayo, all the way in Washington University. Shout out to you from another brother here who is spitting fire on the CEO bench. Justus, this has been a great moment having you on the CEO bench. And somebody is asking a question here. It says, well, thank you very much, Eddie Okila, for bringing the gentleman to the show. I have enjoyed the CEO bench today. Ask him, how was Justus able to connect with Amos Wekesa and becoming very good friends? But also, was it easy to teach Amos how to ride a bike? He never used to ride a bike. Now he looks more fitter. Well, they basically want to know, how do you connect with people like Amos Wekesa, and how do you get them to ride the bicycle? That's the question coming in. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Very, very good that you asked that. Yeah. I take you back to the same principle, okay? Yeah. Who are you? What are you good at? And what's your free value to give, okay? Yeah. The first time I met him, he actually called. I see you sell bikes. He came around. Yeah. Being that Amos, you all know, he was very excited, started promoting us. That was his free value. Yes. He started promoting. Amos writes on his Facebook, we sold containers of bicycles, okay? Yeah. I have never been so. My phone rang without looking. I said, thank you for calling Ultimate Cycling. How can I help you? I knew it was the Sarge from Amos. He gave us free value.
Yeah.
Now thereafter, I gave him $100,000 worth of tangible assets, okay? I built Amos and his son $30,000 bicycles. The bike he rides and his son, top notch, 15,000 USD. Okay?
Wow.
I said, I'm going to be your sponsor.
Yeah.
Okay?
Wow.
That is free value, okay? Gear, I'm actually his sponsor, I'm his cycling sponsor, okay?
Yes, yes.
The rest is history,
Yes.
Synergies, okay? And that is the hack.
Yes, yes.
What do you have to give right away?
Wow.
That is going to bring everything else.
Wow.
Thank you, Eddie.
Wow. Well, you've had it from just as to that question, and
then and then how easy it was.
Yeah.
Amos is already an active guy,
Yeah.
so really I remember that I had to. He liked bobbing. We call it bobbing on the bike. I told him try to stay as still as possible because this in itself is a workout. If you have to do this for an hour, you're burning your energy.
Yes.
So
And
try
you won't
to
have enough energy to keep going.
exactly.
Yes, yes.
So try to stay as still as possible. And being the active guy, he already is the hard worker.
Yeah.
Everything else was easy there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So there you have it. Everybody who has been asking, and thank you very much, Justus, once again for coming to the show.
Yes.
The CEO bench is about voting, and just as you were voted
Oh,
by
wow,
a
okay.
huge number of people
wow,
who kept
fantastic.
asking, and we've got a lot of people. We've got about 50 people on the
Wow.
list
Oh,
of
really?
nomination.
Oh my God.
And I'm actually shocked that you came before Amos. He was the first person nominated. We've
Wow.
written to him, but he's been running around quite a bit.
Yes.
So we've got a lot of people we've nominated, and the CEO bench is about nomination.
Yes.
You have to be nominated,
Yes.
and when you're nominated, they have to give the reason why
Oh,
they have
wow.
nominated you.
Oh, wow.
And then our job is to reach out to bring you.
Oh, wow.
We want you to reach out to those who nominated you.
Yes.
What message
Oh,
do you
of
have
course,
for those
of
who
course,
were
of
nominated?
course.
If you look into this camera as we close the show.
Again, I take the honors, okay, and I would like to take this bow over you all. Thank you very, very much for believing in my vision. Thank you for continuing to support my leadership journey. I would like to challenge you one more time. I want you to go and think about your own life purpose, okay, because that is going to be your blueprint, okay. That is your blueprint, and it will guide you. That is your guide, okay. Think about your purpose, the things that you are extremely good at, and then start to give value, okay? I actually gotta wrap it up telling you 5 things, okay? The 5 things you will do every day to be anything you want to be, okay? Number 1, ask yourself what value you have to give, okay? Number 2, go back and master the value you have to give. Number 3, everyone you talk to, ask them what value you can give. Number 4, give value. Be of value. And number 5, as you wrap up your day, ask yourself, what value did I give? Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Justus, for coming to the show. We want to say goodbye to Justus, and to all of you guys there, we want to say thank you. The CEO bench has come to an end today. Until next week, stay grounded and stay fresh. We will be bringing you another CEO on the CEO bench.
Thank you, guys.
Out, we're bongering, we're getting it out. See you until we meet again.
Thank you.
I want you to share with us from your experiences. You've been going quite a lot, traveling around the world and seeing these things in different countries. What would you share with us today that we can pick from your experiences where you've been going, that we can do down here at home and make it better in Africa, and which Abdul can pick lessons from to go back and continue to impact the lives of people in these communities. Yes.
Yeah, I think when as we said at the beginning, like we are, as a community of citizens, we always like to be inspired. And graffiti normally is about inspiration. You might say piece of mask, a piece of but for example, for me, when I see most of the graffiti work, much of this work is conceptual, it's abstract. People don't understand it. But if we could start from the area where people understand, like for some of our icons, just imagine in Kawempe you have a beautiful graffiti wall of Geoffrey Riema, of Philip Bongole Utaya, of Paul Cafero, of Fred Sebata. All these, like Peterson.
I think he has one already there of
Peterson. But then, of course, great piece. Great piece. But then
it's a recent thing. We need something.
So we're looking at like how can we also start presenting work that is going to inspire our people, people that people need to remember. Like Peterson Mutebi, like Mistusela Segamwenge, all these people, the Byron Kawadwas. There are so many Ugandans that are very, very people are attached to. Just for example, like if GNL is emotionally attached to his graffiti wall mural, and then what is he going to do? He'll push it. He'll push his wall. So if Cliff Mutebi comes and sees his father's mural of Peterson Mutebi on the wall, he'll push it because he finds it that inspiration. And that's meaning that you're growing your community. You're not just skilling them with hands-on, but you're also empowering them to feel proud of who they are and who are their parents or their ancestors are. So I think we need to start looking at how do we celebrate our own? How do we celebrate? I like the Rwandan piece. And I know, because when he was explaining the love of the city, I know there has been conflict and tension between Rwanda and Uganda. It speaks volumes, but at the same time, it is detaching from the Ugandans. They're like, how do we cultivate our own people to appreciate their own history? When you look at bigger cities, they always find those people that are very related or connecting to them. The conceptualization is also about, because there's someone saying that, no, I need to speak my mind, but you also need to connect to the community.
Thank you.
How does the community relate to this kind of work? This mural, which is at Alliancia, was done by a German team. But you find the way they were trying to create, in its abstract, they also try to bring in the Ugandan aspect of it by having the crane in as part of the concept. So how do we connect our work to cultivate the love and the appreciation of our own communities, and also try to grow, make it as much better and much, sophisticated in a way that it shows the maturity of your work, So for me, this is what I'd like to say, that scaling is not only about giving people hands-on skills, but it's also cultivating their minds, inspiring them, making sure that you are exposing them, you're kind of challenging them to think differently, to attract a different mindset.
mbakomboze igitaramo cy'iwacu iwacu turatarama izubuhuha n'inkomangano biratwizihira cyane. Mpamagare muhigirwa ni Nyaruguru mu muhamirizo w'intore, mu muhamirizo w'intore. Sebaganji babukwege aseruke mu byivugo byiza. Mpamagare Sebatunzi ayihere mu miyuki akubwira inaha na batatu yaruta mu kinyange cyarutibuka mu bakemba, mu bakemba.